Okay, let's give this piston a go. What have we got going here? We've got kind of a cylinder sort of thing. I notice it has sort of an indent up here on the top. It's got some kind of cutaway lines. These are actually where the rings are going to go. We've got a hole here with maybe looks like a rectangular inset on it, and we've got some cutaways here at the bottom. So we've got a bit of work to do, but like most engineering tasks, we're going to find if we just do one thing at a time, we end up with a task that's less left to us that has one thing less to do. And if we have 15 tasks, if we do one, we've only got 14 tasks left. Once we do the second, we've only got 13 tasks left. So don't worry so much about the complexity of everything that you have to do. Get to that first point and decide what needs to do next. So I'm going to basically create this barrel, this outer barrel, and then we're going to go do some cuts into it. Now, I'm going to do this because of the cylindrical shape. I'm going to look at doing a circular sweep of a shape to create my cylinder. And I'm going to do it in sort of an odd way. Now, I want folks to realize that we're going to be cutting away some lines as we go through these. And anything that you cut away that hasn't a dimension attached to it, that dimension goes away. So as we do some of these things, we may find out that we suddenly get not fully defined, and we'll have to go back and fix that. So I'm going to start on the front face, and I'm going to create basically this pattern. But I'm not going to worry about the inset of this hole or anything like that, because this inset does not sweep all the way around. So, taking a look, how wide is this? Its diameter is 1.75. Okay, let's go in to SolidWorks and create a part. Let's work on the front plane. So we'll start with a sketch on that front plane. Sketch on that front plane. Here we are. So let's just kind of roughly draw what this thing looks like. Start with a line. Click. 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 Now these don't have to be particularly exact because we're going to line these up later. Cool. Now I'm going to neaten some things up here real quick. Very first, I know that these lines are all vertically aligned, and this line, and this line have a vertical relationship to them. That did not work well. Let's do the points. This point, that point, that point, and that point all have a vertical relationship. Okay. This point, that point, that point, and that point all have a vertical relation. Ah, very good. Okay. So, let's add some stuff in for our dimensions. This whole thing is 2.34 inches high. So I'm going to smart dimension from here to there. That's 2.34 inches. When I look at this cutaway, each of these small segments is 1/10, and it's 3/10 from the top. So let's go over here. This is 0.3. This is 0.1. This is 0.1. This is 0.1. And the depth of these things is also 0.1. So that is 0.1. And because all those points are vertically aligned, they all moved together. And what's missing is the dimension of this. And we decided that this thing was 1.75 in diameter. So this dimension should be 1.75 divided by 2. And now we are fully defined, but what I want to do here is I want to make sure I take out this divot, right? This kind of round indent that's going to the top. I'm going to take out this divot out of this drawing, and that'll make life easy. So how do I do that? Let's draw a big circle, radius 2.53. So 2.53 times 2 for the diameter, and there we go. Now, where does this thing sit? It is the origin and this point are vertically aligned, and it sits so the radius is 2.53 and it cuts 5/100ths in, so it sits at 2.53 minus 0.05 above, and there's my cutout. So I see that I'm fully defined, but I've got to get rid of some stuff. I want to get rid of the big circle, that edge right there, and that edge right there. Now the thing to look out for is, did I get any of my dimensions? So for instance, if I had declared my height based on this wall, I've now made this line segment shorter, and that height dimension might have disappeared, and now I'd have to redimension that to get fully defined again. So watch out for stuff like that. I've got this thing in pretty good shape. We'll use the hollow tool. Okay, so we'll exit the sketch. We'll do a revolve boss base. It's already selected the feature it wants, but now it wants an axis of revolution. So I've got to tell it which axis to rotate around, and I want it to rotate around that. I see it, looks good. There's the indent, life is happy. Check. That doesn't look too bad. Okay, now this thing's actually mostly hollow on the inside, so let's hollow that out. What's that look like? Okay, the inside is a diameter of 1.4. Cool. And what's the height of that? Well, that height is, looks like it's lined up with this upper wall, which there's a tenth, a tenth, a tenth. And I come over here and I see that it is 1.74 from the bottom to this lower wall. I go up a tenth, a tenth, and a tenth. I go up 3/10 to get to where this wall is aligned. So I'm going to go 1.74 plus 3/10 in, and a 1.4 there. So let's draw that circle. That circle is a diameter of 1.4. Completely defined. And now let's extrude a cut and that number was 1.74 plus 0.3. That looks about right. Check. Now, by the way, I'm hitting Control 7 pretty regularly. If I'm not sure, I could always go and take a look at this in hidden line mode and kind of see where stuff is. Cool. Yeah, that looked pretty good. Okay. Yeah, the shaded view of the model allows you to see things like this curvature here, so I like to keep it sort of in shaded view. Now, that's looking pretty good. I don't have these cutouts yet, and I don't have this hole and this inset, so what shall we do first? Let's do the cutouts. As I'm looking at that, there's the front plane. You can see where it's cut, and you can see here that for D, I've got detail D, which actually gives me some reasonable details of what's going on here. So I'm going to focus a lot on this as I go here. There's a couple of lines, there's a curvature. So let's edit, I think, on the front plane. Let's take a look. Where is the front plane? Yeah, that looks good. So let us create a sketch on that front plane. And what's this thing look like? Well, I've got a line that goes from here up to there, and then over, down, connect. Okay, so that's kind of my shape. Let's zoom in. Let's do some definition kind of work. I see from this down here that from the center to this edge is 0.25. So from here to there is 0.25. Okay. And from this edge to the top of this is 1.44. So from here to here is 1.44. Cool. And I actually have this angle from here to here is 236.3. So from here to here, again from here to there, again, try this one more time. From here to there is 236.3. And now I have a fully defined sketch. But I didn't put this curvature in here. I'm going to do that with the fillet tool. The sketch fillet, it has a radius of 0.15. And I want to fillet that corner. Okay. Now I can do some things. I notice there's a lot of extra dimensions on here where it's got the location of this center for this. If you'd have drawn a circle instead, which would have been just fine. My gut reaction is I could go, if I wasn't sure, and I could measure where that center was. Right here I could measure, I could come in and do the evaluate of this. I could measure from here to there and find out that that was 0.39 inches. And I could measure from here to there, that from here, control there, distance. And once again, I go back and look at their 0.35 typical, it's 3.9, but it looks fine. So, exiting the sketch. Again, that drawing's there. Let us do a extrude cut. You'll notice it started from there going all the way. Now I could move where this cut's starting from, but just as easy, I want to go through all. Just as easy is to go to the other direction as well and extrude that cut through both sides. Cool. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to have the same cut on the other side. So that's fairly straightforward to do because I have a plane I can mirror about. What plane can I mirror about? Ooh, not the front plane. I want to mirror, not the top plane. No. I can mirror about the right plane. Now, it's hard to find the right plane if I'm already in the mirror tool. So I like to select both, with using the control key, both this cut and the plane before I go to the mirror tool, because that's the easy way to have them selected properly. I know what plane, I know what excuse me, I know what cut I want to make. So we'll go over here and find the mirror. Let's take a look at that. That looks pretty good. Check. Ooh, looking good. Comparing it to what I'm looking here, yeah, that looks pretty good. Now I need this whole and this rectangular recess. So let's do the hole real quick. The hole is the easy part. So we'll do a sketch. Front plane, we'll do a sketch on the front plane. And I want this hole is 1.2 above the bottom edge. It is diameter 0.5. So the diameter is 0.5. It's 1.2 from that edge. And of course it is vertically aligned. Okay, fully defined, cool. Exit the sketch. Let's do the extrude cut. We're going to go all the way through in both directions. Okay, and there I can see my hole through the part. Oh, getting there. The only thing we have to do is do this square insert. Now I'm going to do this from the center plane, and I'm going to offset where the cut starts and then go out further. So let's so on the front plane, I'm going to do a sketch. And now my sketch, if I look at this, it's going to be a rectangle. I have some dimensions on the rectangle. It looks like it's 3.75 from the middle of the hole. It's 0.75 total. And left, right, it looks like it goes 0.44 either way. Okay, so I'm going to put a couple of construction lines in here just to do it. The construction lines don't become part of the part. And the nice thing is I'll be able to put them right through the center of this circle. This will give me some nice reference points for doing my rectangle. So let's do the rectangle. Chunk. Looks sort of like that, right? So smart dimension. This direction is 0.75. And it's 0.375 from the center. This direction is 0.44, and this whole side is, I believe, 0.88. And there we have that rectangle, fully defined, nice and centered. Life is good. Exit the sketch. Okay, let us now do my extrude cut. But here, if I did that extrude cut like that, it would cut the square all the way through the part. I don't really want to do that. What I want to do is I have an inset here on this square. It should be on this drawing. The square comes in 0.12. So in relationship to my center line, I go out here 3.7, or I go out here 1.75 divided by 2, and then come back in 0.12. So here, where I go from, I'm going to go from an offset. And that offset is going to be, this is where the cut's going to start. It's going to be 1.75 divided by 2. This would put me all the way out to the surface, and let's come back in that 0.12. Okay, so now we've got some oddness there because it put us this other direction, so we can do either of two things. We can either reverse the offset, or we could reverse the direction of the cut. Either way would work. It put cuts on different sides. So let's reverse the offset. For the cut, I like through all rather than blind. That way, if dimensions change, it gets updated properly. It's going to go through everything no matter what happens if we widen the cylinder or whatever. So that's the cut I want to make. And I want to see that cut twice. I want to see it mirrored around the front plane. And there I can see where that cut's going to appear in the front plane. Ooh, look at that. That looks very much like what we've got there. Let's save that, and we are good.